Hello and welcome to TG Talk, where we talk to the generation, that's you, about reaching the world for Christ. Hello, I'm Bobby Bosler, and this is our second episode of TG Talk here today. And I'm very excited about what we have to talk about here today. Last time, as you'll know, I challenged you to take some time with God and seek His face as to how He would have you reach someone with the gospel during this time of quarantine. And here today, I've got a challenge I'd like to take right on the heels of that. And I think you're going to be encouraged by what we have to say here today. Last time we looked at Philippians chapter 1. We're going to look there again. And we looked at the passage where Paul said, "I would that you understand, brethren, that the things which happened unto me have fallen out rather unto the furtherance of the gospel, so that my bonds in Christ are manifest in all the palace and in all other places." We talked about the fact that Paul, even as he was quarantined, so to speak, there amongst the palace guards, was still taking every opportunity that he could. He was allowing the holy creativity of God to give him boldness to declare the gospel, even to those that he was chained with, to the point that everyone there in the praetorium and everyone, he says, in all other places knew that he was preaching the gospel. What I'd like to do here today is I'd like to take a look at the very next verse, verse 14. Right on the heels of that, here Paul says, "And many of the brethren in the Lord, waxing confident by my bonds, are much more bold to speak the word without fear." What we find here is right on the heels of him saying, hey, listen, God gave me boldness, God gave me creativity, God gave me these Roman guards, God gave me a reputation, so to speak, of being someone who's declaring the gospel without fear. My testimony is actually inspiring other people to preach the gospel with the same boldness that they see in me. See, what we're finding here in the first century, Paul in quarantine, as a result of his zeal, as a result of his boldness and willingness to do anything to get the gospel going forward, his zeal, get this, you ready for this, was going viral. I hope I don't offend anybody by saying that. But here in today's culture, in the circumstances in which we find ourselves, there's a lot of things going viral right now, whether it's tweets from President Trump, whether it's the latest Apple announcement, or what's probably more on your mind, the virus, the coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever you want to call it, the Chinese virus, again, whatever you want to call it. That is what is going viral. And in fact, the very fact that this particular organism, this particular set of proteins crammed together in a handy-dandy little destructive package is going from person to person, multiplying itself within its hosts and disseminating itself to other people. This coronavirus is going viral. It's spreading rapidly, to the point that the government has needed to shut down non-essential businesses, to the point where people are encouraged to stay inside, where churches are live streaming. Again, you're aware of all that. I don't need to tell you. But here's the thing. There is an organism that's going viral in this world, to the point that hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people have caught it and thousands of people have died. Now, here's the thing. Paul, here in this passage, is saying, my boldness is going viral. In other words, I am being bold. I'm asking God to give me opportunities. I'm taking those opportunities. And guess what? It's rubbing off. As I preach the gospel, other people see it. They're inspired. They preach the gospel. Other people see it. They're inspired. And it just multiplies and multiplies and multiplies. It is not an exaggeration to say that Paul is saying here, it is better than I'm in jail than it would have been had I been out and about doing what I normally do. There's something about him. He says specifically, they were waxing confident by my bonds. The very fact that he was confined and yet preaching the gospel anyway was causing boldness and gospel preaching to spread, well, like the coronavirus. And I guess what I want to challenge you about here today is your faith needs to go viral as well. Your boldness needs to go viral as well. You say, Brother Bosler, how can my boldness go viral? Well, this gets back to what we talked about yesterday. You got to have a plan. You got to get it from God. In other words, you need to seek God for the specific method that he would have you reach somebody with the gospel. But here's the thing. Nobody would have been inspired by Paul's preaching if they didn't know about it. So somehow, some way, news of Paul's plans and of Paul's preaching and of the progress that Paul had made as a result of his preaching had reached the ears of others. And others saw that and thought, wow, if Paul can do that in confinement, well, I can do it out here in the open too. And so because they heard of Paul and what he had done, they also were inspired. Okay, yesterday I challenged you to get alone with God and see what he wanted you to do. Did he tell you something? I recognize for some it may seem absolutely crazy what God told you to do. For others, it may seem like a very simple and straightforward step. But here's what I want you to do today. If this thing is going to go viral, if the gospel is going to multiply, if we're going to have a pandemic of preaching the gospel, we need to know your plans. We need to know what you've been doing, what you have done, what you hope to do, what God is leading you to do. So here's what I want to do. Here's my challenge for today. On thegeneration.org, our website, on the very top, you'll see a couple new options, but right in the middle, there's one called Testimonies. Here's what I want you to do. If you've prayed, if you've sought the face of God, and if he told you something, I want you to go on that testimony page and either in an audio version or via text, the actual text typing version, or however you'd like, on that page, use one of those forms. And I want you to tell us, here is what God is burdening my heart to do. Here are my plans. Or if you've already been doing something, here's what I have done. Or if you've already declared the gospel and somebody's been encouraged or saved or inspired, you tell us, because here's what I'd like to do. I haven't figured out exactly how I'm going to do it yet, but I want to feature those things that you've said. Whether that's here on this TG Talk program, in a podcast, on the website, in one way, shape, or form, I want to highlight those because I want our listener base, our audience, those who are a part of our mailing list and beyond, I want them to see what God is leading the generation to do. And just like Paul's testimony, just like Paul's preaching caused the declaration of the gospel to go viral, I want our plans and our products, I want our zeal to go viral in this world as well. So as soon as you're done here watching this video and the end credits have done or whatever I've got at the end of this video, go to thegeneration.org. And if you haven't sought the Lord yet, do that. Get a word from him. Go to the website, go to the testimonies page, and tell us what God is leading you to do. And I trust that as I see, I'll be encouraged, and as others see, they will be encouraged as well, that they will wax confident by your plans and your preaching to speak the word without fear. You know, this is all going to have to require a little bit of surrender on our parts, don't you think? And whatever God leads you to do, no matter how crazy it might seem, if we will depend upon him and yield to his plans, we, my friends, can turn the world upside down with the gospel of Jesus Christ. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you later.